A happy man enjoys a full measure of happiness, but still prays for happiness. A beloved girl is very much loved, but yet craves for more love. Bao Yu, so our story runs, was gazing vacantly when Tai Yu, at a moment least expected, flung her handkerchief at him, which just hit him on the eyes and frightened him out of his wits. "Who was it?" he cried. Lin Tai Yu nodded her head and smiled. "I would not venture to do such a thing," she said. "It was a mere slip of my hand. As cousin Bao Chai wished to see the silly wild goose, I was pointing it out to her when the handkerchief inadvertently flew out of my grip." Bao Yu kept on rubbing his eyes. The idea suggested itself to him to make some remonstrance, but he could not again very well open his lips. Presently, Lady Feng arrived. She then alluded, in the course of conversation, to the Thanksgiving service which was to be offered on the 1st in the Qing Shu Temple, and invited Bao Chai, Bao Yu, Tai Yu, and the other inmates with them to be present at the theatricals. "Never mind," smiled Bao Chai. "It's too hot. Besides, what plays haven't I seen? I don't mean to come." "It's cool enough over at their place," answered Lady Feng. "There are also 2-storied buildings on either side, so we must all go. I'll send servants a few days before to drive all that herd of Taoist priests out, to sweep the upper stories, hang up curtains, and keep out every single loafer from the interior of the temple, so it will be all right like that. I have already told our Madame Wang that if you people don't go, I mean to go all alone, as I've been again in very low spirits these last few days. And as when theatricals come off, at home, it's out of the question for me to look on with any peace and quiet." When Dowager Lady Jia heard what she said, she smiled. "Well, in that case," she remarked, "I'll go along with you." Lady Feng at these words gave a smile. "Venerable ancestor, were you also to go, it would be ever so much better. Yet I won't feel quite at my ease. Tomorrow," Dowager Lady Jia continued, "I can stay in the 2-storied building situated on the principal site, while you can go to the one on the side. You can then likewise dispense with coming over to where I shall be to stand on any ceremonies. Will this suit you or not?" "This is indeed," Lady Feng smiled, "a proof of your regard for me, my worthy senior." Old Lady Jia at this stage faced Bao Chai. "You should go too," she said. "So should your mother. For if you remain the whole day long at home, you will again sleep your head off." Bao Chai felt constrained to signify her assent. Dowager Lady Jia then also dispatched domestics to invite Mrs. Schwack, and on their way, they notified Madame Wang that she was to take the young ladies along with her. But Madame Wang felt in the first place in a poor state of health, and was engaged in the second in making preparations for the reception of any arrivals from Yuan Chun, so that she, at an early hour, sent word that it was impossible for her to leave the house. Yet, when she received old Lady Jia's behest, she smiled and exclaimed, "Are her spirits still so buoyant?" and transmitted the message into the garden that any who had any wish to avail themselves of the opportunity were at liberty to go on the 1st with their venerable senior as their chaperone. As soon as these tidings were spread abroad, everyone else was indifferent as to whether they went or not. But of those girls who day after day never put their foot outside the doorstep, which of them was not keen on going the moment they heard the permission conceded to them? Even if any of their respective mistresses were too lazy to move, they employed every expedient to induce them to go. Hence it was that Li Kung Tsai and the other inmates signified their unanimous intention to be present. Dowager Lady Jia at this grew more exultant than ever, and she issued immediate directions for servants to go and sweep and put things in proper order. But to all these preparations, there is no necessity to make detailed reference. Sufficient to relate that on the 1st day of the moon, carriages stood in a thick maze,
and men and horses in close concourse at the entrance of the Ronggyo mansion. When the servants, the various managers, and other domestics came to learn that the imperial consort was to perform good deeds and Dowager Lady Jia was to go in person and offer incense, they arranged, as it happened, that the first of the moon, which was the principal day of the ceremonies, was in addition the season of the Dragon Boat Festival. All the necessary articles in perfect readiness and with unusual splendor. Shortly, old Lady Jia and the other inmates started on their way. The old lady sat in an official chair carried by 8 bearers. Widow Li, Lady Feng, and Mrs. Schweck, each in a 4-bearer chair. Bao Chai and Tai Yu mounted together a curricle with green cover and pearl tassels bearing the 8 precious things. The 3 sisters, Ying Chun, Tan Chun, and Si Chun, got into a carriage with red wheels and ornamented hood. Next in order followed Dowager Lady Jia's wait-maids, Yuan Yang, Ying Wu, Hu Po, and Chen Chu. Ling Tai Yu's wait-maids, Zi Chuan, Shui Yan, and Chuan Qian. Bao Chai's wait-maids, Ying and Win Hing. Ying Chun's servant girls, Si Chi and Shu Ju. Tan Chun's wait-maids, Shi Shu and Shui Mo. Si Shun's servant girls, Ru Hua and Sai Ping. And Mrs. Schweck's wait-maids, Tong Si and Tong Kui. Besides these were joined to their retinue Xiang Ling and Xiang Ling's servant girl, Qin Mrs. Li's wait-maids, Su Yan and Bi Yu. Lady Feng's servant girls, Ping Feng and Xiao Hung, as well as Madame Wang's 2 wait-maids, Gin Chuan and Sai Yun. Along with Lady Feng came a nurse carrying Da Ji El-Ir. She drove in a separate carriage together with a couple of servant girls. Added also to the number of the suite were matron and nurses attached to the various establishments and the wives of the servants of the household who were in attendance outdoors. Their carriages, forming one black solid mass, therefore crammed the whole extent of the street. The van of the procession had already proceeded a considerable distance in their chairs, and yet the inmates at the gate had not finished mounting their vehicles. This one shouted, "I won't sit with you." That one cried, "You've crushed Our Lady's bundle." In the carriages yonder, one screamed, "You've pulled my flowers off." Another nearer exclaimed, "You've broken my fan." And they chatted and talked and laughed with such incessant volubility that Zhou Rui's wife had to go backward and forward, calling them to task. "Girls," she said, "this is the street. The onlookers will laugh at you." But it was only after she had expostulated with them several times that any sign of improvement became at last visible. The van of the procession had already reached the entrance of the Qing Shu Temple. Bao Yu rode on horseback. He preceded the chair occupied by his grandmother Jia. The throngs that filled the streets ranged themselves on either side. On their arrival at the temple, the sound of bells and rattle of drums struck their ear. Forthwith appeared the head bonze Chang, a stick of incense in hand, his cloak thrown over his shoulders. He took his stand by the wayside at the head of a company of Taoist priests to present his greetings. The moment Dowager Lady Jia reached in her chair the interior of the main gate, she descried the Les and Penetes, the lord presiding over that particular district, and the clay images of the various gods, and she at once gave orders to halt. Jia Zhen advanced to receive her, acting as leader to the male members of the family. Lady Feng knew that Yuan Yang and the attendants were at the back and could not overtake their old mistress, so she herself alighted from her chair to volunteer her services. She was about to hastily press forward and support her when, by a strange accident, a young Taoist neophyte of 12 or 13 years of age who held a case containing scissors with which he had been snuffing the candles burning in various places, just seized the opportunity to run out and hide himself when he unawares rushed headfirst into Lady Feng's arms. Lady Feng speedily raised her hand and gave the young fellow such a slap on the face that she made the young fellow reel over and perform a somersault. "You boorish young bastard! Where are you running to?" The Taoist neophyte did not even give a thought to picking up the scissors, but crawling up onto his feet again, he tried to scamper outside. But just at that very moment, Bao Chai and the rest of the young ladies were dismounting from their vehicles, and the matrons and women servants were closing them in so thoroughly on all sides that not a puff of wind or a drop of rain could penetrate. And when they perceived that Taoist neophyte come rushing head,
the young Taoist did not even give a thought to picking up the scissors, but crawling up onto his feet again, he tried to scamper outside. But just at that very moment, Pao Chai and the rest of the young ladies were dismounting from their vehicles, and the matrons and women servants were closing them in so thoroughly on all sides that not a puff of wind or a drop of rain could penetrate. And when they perceived a Taoist neophyte come rushing headlong out of the place, they with one voice exclaimed, "Catch him! Catch him! Beat him! Beat him!"